Hey everyone, welcome to Uma Talks with Natalie Romash and Rita Kakati-Shah. Hi Rita.
Hi Natalie, hi everyone.
Guys, I'm so glad to see you all here again. And today we're gonna talk about the conflict resolution. You know, this topic is kind of hot by itself, but today with the stay-at-home kind of life, we see that among our Uma community, this topic becomes even hotter. Right, Rita?
Absolutely. I love the topic because it's so topical.
Yeah. Rita, I have a first question for you because at UMA we tend to help people to resolve conflicts. And from your experience, how do you think, what is the most common reason of people actually getting into the conflict situation?
So that's a really good question because this is something that happens in everyday life all the time. It happens at work, it happens at home, it happens at school, it happens in your personal life with friends, with family, with parents. It's everywhere. And there are so many reasons for getting into conflict. You could have just woken up on the wrong side of bed and you're just a bit off, and naturally you just sort of say something to somebody closest to you without thinking, and that causes a conflict. Or it could be just that, you've seen something in front of you and you just sort of jump to a conclusion and you go straight out there without actually taking time to understand what the background is. Or it could just be that, it's just a general miscommunication. So there are so many reasons of why conflicts arise, but there are so many tips for how to resolve them as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. And guys, I'm so glad for all your good support and feedback, and actually that you are sharing with us not only questions, but sometimes your best techniques and things that you are doing in order to resolve conflicts, in order to do things that we are talking about at our weekly topics. And today I want to say a very big thank you to Bijal for her comment on one of our topics about the conflict resolution. And guys, Bijal is sharing with us her own technique, how to make a better common ground with person you are maybe in conflict. And so Bijal is saying that for her personally, sometimes the best thing is to step back and have good time with maybe herself, like reflecting and understanding the background and the situation, the understanding of other person, so how other person feels, and then to continue the conversation with taking the defense of, and just from the common ground, like what both of persons are trying to resolve to get to to how both persons are trying to understand to get in this situation. And it turned out that pretty often we just tend to either turn on the defense mechanism or to turn on the attack mechanism when we are getting in trouble and when we are getting conflict. And Rita, how do you think, what can we do in order to turn on mind in these kind of situations?
That's a really good question. And thank you, Bijal, for that wonderful comment you made. And I think absolutely to your point, quite often we do jump into situations, but let's just take a step back, take a time to reflect. We've got to take time to listen and hear out. So many times conflicts can be resolved just by listening. Take a step back and listening, giving the other person a chance, to feel important, to feel heard. Sometimes people just retort and they build up emotion and it just comes out in something that looks a little bit like an attacking mechanism because they don't feel heard. So first thing is take a step back, actually take the time to listen to them, make eye contact, listen, repeat back to them what you've just heard them say, so they know that you're not just sort of in one ear out the other, but you're actually taking the time to listen before reacting in some way and giving your own sort of viewpoint. So I think that's a really important point. And I think the other point to mention, Natalie, that it is sometimes about taking a deep breath. It is about taking that time back and reflecting on ourselves. Now, every single conflict situation is different. Sometimes, you have time to reflect and come back and make a decision. Other times you're literally in the heat of the moment. I'll give you an example. If you have children, for example, and they're in the middle of a conflict and you are now coming in to mediate that without taking sides and to show them at the same time you're hearing them both, you've got to react there and then. So quite often they're both speaking at the same time, they want their voices heard, but you have to give them both the chance. Okay, what happened here? You tell me your side. speak to the other one, what happened here, tell me your side. And then as that parent, as that leader, as that manager, whatever position you're in, you then have to say, okay, let's, you know, take a step back, everyone take a time off, let's work on something different. So quite often as the manager or as the grown-up or as the third person, you have to kind of step into mediate quite often.
Oh yeah, definitely. Rita, I'm so glad that you're sharing all these best practices and techniques at UMA, and that I hope that this, our content and with our UMA advices, most people can get better through conflict situations. But from other side, the conflicts are pretty natural outcome of our life, and this is how sometimes even how we make friends, because we can be like in the conflict with someone and then just actually understand both sides and understand that we have much more in common than it may feel like. And as the leader of UMA, you are helping so many people to figure out the situations, and probably most of us are very curious. Are you actually getting in conflict situations by your own? And if you are getting, so what do you do if you found yourself in the middle of the conflict? And what do you do if you see that conflict arise? And actually, how do you resolve it before it become like a conflict?
You know what, thank you for saying that, but actually it's a very good point. You know, sometimes it's different when we are given advice to others. It totally seems, you know, like, oh yes, if I was looking in, I was a fly on the wall, I would give this advice. Of course I get into conflicts as well. It happens, you know, on a daily basis with different things, but how I react is something that I think comes from a bit of experience. I think from experience, I see that what doesn't work, which helps me see what does work in the future. So for example, if I'm actually in the conflict, what helps is to actually take a step back and think, okay, what would I do if I was seeing somebody else do what I'm doing right now? And, you know, you just take a step back, you let both parties calm down for a bit, and you take the time to listen. A lot of the times why conflict gets caused, Natalie, is because a lot of people think of right and wrong, that they want to get their point across. Sometimes they don't feel they can. So they feel like they're right, and they have to try and convince the other person who's wrong, without actually listening to that person has their own independent viewpoint. To resolve a conflict doesn't mean you have to convince somebody else or change their mind. What it means is that you have to be respectful of each other, that you have your own view, somebody else has theirs. Be respectful and empathetic that you are allowed to have different views, and agree that they are different and move on from there. And quite often that is how you resolve a conflict as well, to say that, okay, I understand what you're saying, just so you understand, this is what I'm saying, and this is why what you said offended me. But that's totally fine. I'm not asking you to change your mind, but just so you understand why that could be a comment that would hurt me or offend me. And that could be a way of moving forward as well.
Oh, thank you so much, Rita. And you know, when I was actually working on on the designs for the post, I had an interesting conversation with a friend of mine, and she told that it's so natural and easy either to give advice about the conflict resolution or about like anything, and actually it feels even very comfortable, all right, when I read the advice and I think, oh yeah, definitely I can do it next time if I will be in this situation, like I can do it. And she asked me the very interesting thing that how actually to teach yourself to do the good thing that you may like reach somewhere, even maybe in our Instagram, but how to make this transition between knowing something and implementing it when you're already in the conflict situation. So that friend of mine very liked our advice some time ago about the mantra. I think it was it confidence on my talk or something. But how to incorporate and what she can incorporate in the daily practice in order to become a person who resolved the conflict the way you can actually look back and proud of myself that, hey, I resolved it and maybe there was actually no conflict.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's a really good question. I mean, you know, everyone is different, what works for you, what doesn't. If you wanted to think of a mantra of some sort, you know, what we do for confidence, for example, works with here as well. So for example, I say breathe, you know, that's the first thing. Take a step back, breathe, just count to 10 in your head, count to 5, whatever it is, but just really slow, deep breaths. Think about the thing. Just remember, before you speak, allow yourself a time to take it in first. And that could be a way, if you are somebody who just goes out there and sees something and reacts straight away, you basically want to add a little bit of a cushion before you react. And that cushion could be breathing. It could be sort of having a quick sort of take time to breathe, or ease, or count to 5, some sort of like a meditation sort of mantra you're saying in your own head. And you practice that over and over again. A good way is, for example, in the morning, when you wake up, is the first thing that you do is just grab your phone and check your social media, or you check your calendar, check your emails. Or are you the sort of person that said, okay, I've woken up, I'm going to do like a morning breathing, I'm going to listen to some music, going to just read my favorite poem, whatever it is. And depending on how you are, that is something that might work for you. If you're the kind of person that just reaches for that phone, or gets straight away into the day's work, take that time off and add that extra minute, 30 seconds, whatever it is, to take that time. The more you do it, and that's why we call it a mantra, the more it becomes your routine and it becomes part of who you are. This then automatically gets exercised in a conflict situation. Naturally, you're then going to take a step back before you react. It's always think before you speak. Take time before you react.
Oh, thank you so much, Rita. I actually started doing breathing just like probably a few weeks ago, and it happened naturally. And guys, it literally works. I'm trying to do it every day, either in the morning or in the evening after like I end my day and I'm trying to reflect on what was going on. And guys, please try it. For me, it works, and I will be very, very happy if you will share on the comments to this video, or just as a DM or as a comment to our other posts, what actually works for you. And Rita, I have the last question for today, and about the conflict resolution. The topic is huge, and guys, probably we will talk about it later. But today I want us to see one more situation, because when we are in the conflict with our peers, and when we are when we should act as a person who resolve the conflict between employees, like you are a manager, probably it's different. And Rita, how do you see these differences and what we can do about it? How we should behave in order to be a good human, to be a great person, and actually to resolve the conflicts in those two common scenarios?
Yeah, great question. I'd say a couple of things for that. And this is just from experience and part of also what we've learned from our own trainings as well. That when you are seeing somebody in a conflict situation, or twofold, someone, you might be the manager, you walk into a situation and your employee, your peer, literally just gives it to you. And you're like shocked. You think, oh, wow, I had no idea that I'm the reason for the conflict. And there's two different ways of dealing with that. So firstly, if you're the reason for the conflict, you take the time to listen, process it and whatnot, and then make sure if you've offended somebody, whether it's inadvertently or intentionally, whatever it is, take that time to say that you're sorry, acknowledge what they've said, repeat back to them that, oh, wow, I didn't realize that I did this, this and that. I am so, so sorry. We don't say that enough. It's almost like it gets in the way of our pride, but it's a very good technique to actually take us a step down. But what does it do? The minute you apologize, it brings somebody else a peg down as well. If somebody's really tense, if the other person comes down, they're like, oh, okay. And then they come down a little bit, and then you're starting to bring the tension down. The next thing then you do is listen, and you repeat back to them exactly what you've heard, right? And then the other thing is you can also then compliment them on everything they're doing right. So it doesn't feel like, you might just be having a stressful week as a manager, and you're just forgetting or not listening or not seeing the signs that somebody is reaching burnout, or they've got too much on the plate, or they're saying something, and they feel like you're ignoring them. So you apologize, you repeat back to them, and then you say something that is, you know what, I'm always so impressed by the work you do, or I love the way you do this, and you always turn it on time, that I apologize that because of that, I did not ask and reach out if you needed anything. So acknowledge it back to them, and then sort of speak to each other and say, okay, how can we move forward from this? I will definitely do a better job at not doing that or doing this better. But can I also ask that next time it happens, please let me know. Just sort of, knock on my door, send me an email, leave a note on my desk if I'm not there, but please let me know. And I would try to do the same as well. So doing things like that is basically trying to neutralize the situation. And it works in different situations. We've done a lot of work and read up on, even like, this is an extreme example, but with hostage negotiation as an example, right? It's the same kind of thing. You are trying to go and literally save quite sinister situations. It's the same thing that works. You're trying to get on the other person's wavelength to make them calm down, to save the situation. Same with kids as well. If you're trying to negotiate with your children and they're doing something, or you're in the park and one child's about to jump off a wall and really hurt themselves, and you're trying to stop them from doing that, you're then having to negotiate them off from doing that. And you know, it's happened as a mom of 2 young children, one's daring the other one to do it. You've got to slowly get them back to say, yes, I know you're so brave, but hey, I've got another way of how you show me you're brave. And you know what, if we go that way, or do you remember there's that ice cream truck, or whatever it is, you try to infuse a nice situation to try and almost distract from that situation. So there's different ways of dealing with it, whether you're a manager, a senior leader, somebody working on cross-border issues, politician, whatever it is, you have to take that step back to acknowledge. But to do that, you've first got to acknowledge in yourself and let go of your own pride. Let that go, take a step back. Don't try to force somebody on their opinion. Acknowledge it and agree to move on.
Oh, thank you so much, Rita. What you're saying, it's so like coming together with our definition, and I like to thank you as a part of Team UMA, and actually I want to share like some thanks from our followers, because guys, actually all our definitions that you may see at UMA, Rita is actually writing them, and because at UMA we try to help people to understand these situations better, and through better culture and better knowledge, actually we can, every one of us, we can work better and can be a better human and can be a better employee or manager or wife or any other type of UMA inside of us. And Rita, I'm so glad that one of our followers, Elizabeth, agrees, and she commented that she liked the way we make this definition. And guys, it's a big thank you from me and from Rita and from the entire UMA team that you are checking on us, that you see our definitions, and for all your feedback. So thank you, and very big thank you. And you know, actually next week we are taking very interesting topic, that is pretty natural follow-up of conflict resolution, because guys, we're gonna talk about the communication.
Excellent. Yeah, so I want to say thank you again to everybody as well. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you everyone for your comments and your posts as well. But yeah, I love communications, because that is exactly what some of the issues are with how you get into a conflict in the first place. So I love the follow-up from this. I think we're going to have a lot of nice tips to share on that. I'm hoping we'll get lots of comments in. So thanks again, Natalie, for organizing this. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, thank you guys, and see you soon. Bye.
Bye everyone.